Let's be totally honest for a second here. Most of us have been, well, kind of coddled by modern diet trains, right? We obsess over these triple-washed, bagged, pre-chopped greens that honestly wouldn't survive a stiff breeze, let alone a harsh winter. But what if I told you there's a superfood out there that operates less like a delicate little garden vegetable and more like a literal chemical trap? Welcome to this explainer on Chaya, or, as it's also known, the tree spinach of the Maya. We are going to look at a plant so potent, so ridiculously defensive, that eating it raw could actually kill you if you don't follow some very specific rules. We aren't talking about a little weed that stays low to the ground and begs to be eaten. No way. We're talking about a 20-foot-tall biological machine that serves as a permanent food pharmacy. You know, if you can actually survive the preparation.
So, I gotta ask, would you risk eating a 20-foot poison bush? Seriously, think about your comfortable modern dietary habits for a minute. You stroll into an air-conditioned grocery store, you pick up a little clamshell of safe, sterile spinach, and you call it a day. But if you were starving out in the jungle and you stumbled upon a massive, imposing shrub that you knew for a fact was entirely poisonous unless cooked perfectly, would you risk the cook time or would you just keep looking? It's super easy to dismiss this from the comfort of our modern kitchens. But what we're dealing with here is a massive, toxic, biological machine that literally forces you to respect it before it ever gives up its nutritional bounty.
See, Chaya is what we call an extremophile. Nature absolutely did not want you to eat this plant easily. Its raw leaves are loaded with harmful toxins, forming a really severe chemical defense system. And listen, this isn't some evolutionary accident. It's designed specifically to ward off almost every single insect and herbivore that dares to take a bite. This brutal built-in chemical armor makes Chaya an unkillable survival ace. While your standard garden salad looks completely defenseless and gets wiped out by a few bugs or a heavy rainstorm, Chaya stands tall. It is completely drought-tolerant and immune to pests, and it's thriving precisely because it's so incredibly toxic.
Okay, let's dive right into the incredibly primitive process of how this monster actually grows. Now, you might think a plant this complex requires delicate little seeds and careful germination, right? Wrong. This is what I like to call propagation by mutilation. You definitely don't need a green thumb to secure your food supply here. Step 1, hack off a stem cutting from the parent plant. Step 2, literally just stick it in the dirt. Step 3, harvest your new energy bank. That's the whole shebang. It's incredibly easy to transplant. You're essentially taking a piece of this resilient 20-foot monster and starting a brand new perennial source of greens that you don't even need to replant every single year.
This brings us to Section 5, the deadly trade-off, poison versus high protein.
So we're pivoting to the tense, life-or-death reality of dealing with this shrub. You're constantly balancing on a knife's edge between a lethal raw state and legendary nutritional rewards. You aren't just making a salad here, you're engaging in a high-stakes chemical negotiation. The plant uses its poison to repel absolutely everything, but if you have the knowledge to bypass that defense, you unlock a level of protein and vitality that's almost unheard of in the plant kingdom. And here is the absolutely crucial point. 20. That is the magic number. To make Chaya safe, you must boil the leaves for exactly 20 minutes. This is a strict, non-negotiable rule. You aren't boiling it just to make the leaves soft and palatable for our delicate modern taste buds. The heat is a literal chemical requirement to neutralize the toxins. If you pull it out at 10 minutes, you are eating poison. Early humans didn't have a quick internet search to figure this out. They learned this high-stakes glitch through generations of brutal, unforgiving trial and error, eventually discovering how to turn a deadly, poisonous shrub into a safe dinner.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the absurdity of what we consider superfoods today. Look at this. We have weak, modern kale on one side and ancient, toxic Chaya on the other. I actually kind of scoff at modern health trends when you put them side by side like this. Nutritionally, Chaya puts those safe grocery store greens to absolute shame. It boasts a massive, superior density of iron, protein, and vitamin C that garden spinach or kale simply cannot touch. Yes, okay, you have to endure a 20-minute boil to get it, but the payoff? The payoff is a crop that vastly over-delivers compared to literally anything wrapped in plastic in your local produce aisle.
So what exactly is the payoff once you bypass the poison? Well, the rewards are legendary. Chaya acts as a literal biological shield against fatigue. It delivers a much higher iron concentration than spinach, a massive vitamin C payload, and superior protein density. And as a practical survival crop, its extremophile nature means it's highly drought-tolerant and naturally insect-resistant. When all your other delicate little vegetables have shriveled up and died from a lack of water or some sudden pest invasion, this toxic shrub just keeps going. It continues to produce an unstoppable, year-round supply of vital nutrients. It simply outcompetes everything else.
Moving on to Section 9, the Maya biological treasure, thriving on toxins.
Long before modern agriculture, The ancient Maya utilized this highly dangerous plant as a literal civilization-building staple. They looked at a toxic 20-foot shrub that actively repelled animals and thought, yep, this will be the backbone of our diet. It provided the essential fiber, calcium, and vitamins that allowed their entire civilization to absolutely thrive in challenging and unpredictable climates. Let's trace how this biological treasure moved across the map, because it's fascinating. Despite its highly dangerous reputation, chaya didn't just stay confined to Central America. Ancient merchants and early travelers recognized its immense value. They deliberately carried these cuttings, remember that propagation by mutilation we talked about? They carried them all the way to places like Peru. And eventually, it was even transplanted by early travelers as far out as Hawaii. Just think about that for a second. People valued its medicinal and nutritional properties so highly that they were literally willing to risk transporting and cultivating a deadly plant across completely diverse global regions.
We took a toxic 20-foot shrub that acts as a chemical trap, a plant that uses poison to ward off insects and can literally kill you if eaten raw, and through generations of trial, error, and a strict 20-minute boiling rule, turned it into arguably the most nutritious green on the planet, capable of building ancient empires. I gotta drop the cynical survivalist act for a second here, because stepping back and looking at the sheer absurdity of humanity figuring out this deadly botanical glitch, looking at how we transformed a lethal extremophite into a global biological treasure, now that's absolutely wild. It really makes you wonder, what other deadly, unkillable superplants are hiding out there in the wild, just waiting for us to figure out their glitches?